The movie begins with a sweeping shot of a vast and desolate desert planet, showcasing its rugged and unforgiving terrain. In the distance, figures clad in iron suits are seen traversing the landscape. Suddenly, one of them is attacked, prompting the others to retaliate. As they assess the situation, they communicate through their helmets, discussing the escaped prisoner who has taken a rifle. They report their status to Commander Karza, who instructs them to activate their system link and patch him through to the base. Commander Karza informs Alpha Base that their ship, Prometheus, has crashed, leaving 3 survivors in need of immediate instructions. He explains that their ship's bike is not functional, and they require coordinates for extraction in 10 hours. After receiving confirmation from Alpha Base, Karza thanks them for their assistance and ends the transmission, preparing to carry out his mission to locate and capture the escaped prisoner. One member of the crew expresses how their target could move so swiftly in the intense heat of the desert. Another member responds, explaining that the target's survival instincts drive their rapid movement. Despite the urgency, another crew member questions the need for haste, suggesting that allowing the target to succumb to the harsh conditions would eliminate the need for pursuit. However, their superior reminds them of their orders to capture the target alive, prompting further inquiry into the reasons behind these orders. They started walking and saw their target. They quickly began chasing him, but they lost him. The escaped prisoner set traps and picked off the commandos one by one. They targeted him and shot, but when they went to see it was only a cloak, then one of them got killed, when only Commander Karza and Lieutenant Centauri 7 were left. Tensions rise as the crew engages in a heated exchange. They discuss the need to establish a camp, assessing the challenging terrain and limited access points. Despite the fatigue, Centauri expresses determination to continue the pursuit, offering to proceed alone if necessary. However, Commander Karza dismisses his input, criticizing his lack of experience and decision-making in a previous ambush. Emphasizing the importance of skill and strategy, Commander Karza assigns tasks to the team and reiterates the need for obedience to orders. As they camp in a cave, Centauri communicates with a robot guide, receiving updates on their location and conditions. They discuss the commander's condition, noting a plasma wound and extreme nerve damage. Centauri adjusts the commander's medication, intending to keep him mobile for their journey ahead. Centauri and Karza begin their journey, with Karza reminding Centauri to focus on the mission objective rather than him. As they continue, the atmosphere conditioning is completed, allowing them to remove their helmets safely. Centauri questions why the prisoner is unaffected by the thin air, to which Karza explains that the prisoner doesn't wear a life suit and can adapt to various conditions. Centauri seeks permission to speak freely, expressing curiosity about the prisoner's significance. Karza warns against disobedience, emphasizing the consequences of treason. Despite the risks, Centauri presses for answers, prompting Karza to reveal that the prisoner is the last of its kind, and their mission is to capture it as retribution for destroying its homeworld. Tensions escalate as Centauri accuses Karza of withholding vital information and jeopardizing the mission. Karza defends his actions, asserting his authority as their superior officer. Frustrations boil over, and the argument escalates into a physical altercation as they engage in combat. Suddenly, their target attacked them. They take cover behind a rock. Commander Karza falls victim to a sniper shot, losing his life in the skirmish. In the aftermath, Centauri desperately attempts to reconnect with the guiding robot Clea, seeking crucial information about their target's whereabouts. Clea finally responds, indicating that she has suffered some damage but is still functional. With Karza gone, Centauri and Clea are left as the sole survivors. Centauri directs Clea to continue tracking the prisoner's location. As Centauri presses on, guided by Clea, he stumbles upon a tracking device lying on the ground. Before he can react, he's ambushed by the prisoner. Despite having the opportunity to take Centauri out, the prisoner opts for subduing him and revealing his true identity as a human. The human, Jericho, with an otherworldly substance emanating from his mouth, removes his mask, exposing his face. Jericho pilfers Centauri's supplies but chooses to spare his life, leaving him unconscious but alive. Waking up, Centauri assesses his injuries and takes care to treat them as best he can. Despite the pain, he forces himself to his feet and surveys his surroundings, then he resumes his journey. Rummaging through Centauri's belongings, Jericho locates a bandage and utilizes it to tend to his wounds. He then turns his attention to the gun he discovered, testing its functionality and familiarizing himself with its operation. Jericho retrieves the communication device from Centauri's possessions and endeavors to access the Sidonian computer database. However, he gets a denial of access. Centauri activates another communication device and contacts Clea, who informs him that she is currently in the possession of an unauthorized user. Centauri requests a signal of the user's location, and Clea obliges, providing him with the necessary information. Despite the unexpected obstacle, Centauri maintains communication with Clea, noting the device's surprising level of intelligence. He instructs Clea to keep the signal active as he sets out to confront the user. As Centauri approaches Jericho's location, Jericho quickly conceals himself. Centauri and the human, now able to communicate with each other, engage in a tense exchange. Centauri expresses frustration over losing access to Clea and the inability to leave the planet without her assistance. Jericho dismisses the Centauri's attempts to manipulate him. Jericho challenges Centauri's resolve, suggesting that perhaps he doesn't intend to leave the planet at all. Centauri retorts, questioning Jericho's motives and warning against any attempts to harm him. Undeterred, Centauri hints at knowing the true reason behind the pursuit of Jericho, but declares his indifference towards it. He reveals his intention to hunt down Jericho and exact his revenge. Centauri tracks down Jericho, and they confront each other face to face. Jericho taunts Centauri, declaring that he will never be caught and urging him to give up. He questions why Centauri persists in pursuing him when he may not even have a home to return to. In response, Centauri refuses to back down, launching a blade at Jericho in an attempt to incapacitate him. The blade strikes Jericho's shoulder, causing him injury, but he manages to evade further harm and escapes from Centauri's grasp once again. Jericho communicates with Centauri, expressing disdain for the Sidonian race's lack of preparation, particularly regarding water supplies. He mocks Centauri's endurance, despite his apparent incompetence, and speculates that the Sidonians wear helmets to conceal their incessant chatter. Centauri remains silent as Jericho continues, questioning whether Centauri can understand him. Jericho boasts about his ability to speak multiple languages, acquired from the Drax, whom he considers a noble race, despite Centauri's disparaging remarks. Their conversation turns to the conflict between their races, with Jericho accusing the Sidonians of harboring Drac refugees and choosing the wrong side in the war. He asserts that their actions have led to the destruction of their homeworld, but maintains that they made the right choice. Jericho presents Centauri with two options: to join him and survive or face oblivion with the rest of his race. However, Centauri chooses a third option, leaving Jericho intrigued and questioning what it could be. Then Jericho breaks off the communication. Centauri locates the communication device and reaches out to Clea, seeking information about Jericho's whereabouts and whether he has been recaptured. Clea confirms that Jericho remains elusive. Centauri questions why Jericho would abandon the device, considering its potential danger. Clea expresses concern about Jericho's behavior, suggesting that he may have other plans in motion. Despite Clea's reluctance to disclose further details, Centauri insists on knowing what she has discovered. Clea hesitates, explaining that revealing the information could potentially influence Centauri's actions. Centauri reaffirms his trust in Clea, prompting her to finally share her insight. With unwavering trust, Centauri listens intently, ready to act upon Clea's instructions. Clea warns Centauri about a potential issue with her power supply, indicating that Commander Karza's actions may have caused more damage than initially believed. Centauri instructs Clea to shut down non-essential systems to conserve power, But Clea reveals that she has limited resources left. With no other options, Centauri suggests shutting down the medical unit, despite Clea's reluctance. As the medical unit powers down, Centauri experiences an increase in pain and discomfort. However, he remains determined, confident that the saved power will be sufficient for their rescue mission. Centauri reassures Clea that they will make it through, relying on the remaining power and hoping for a timely arrival of their rescue ship. As Centauri continues his journey, Clea intercepts a communication from orbit, indicating an unknown craft approaching their location. Centauri questions whether it could be their pickup, but Clea confirms it's an unknown military channel. Despite attempts to establish contact, there's no response, suggesting the approaching craft has initiated radio silence. Centauri speculates on the possibilities, considering the potential involvement of Jericho or even the Drax. Jericho ventures onward, stumbling upon a plant which he decides to taste. Suddenly, he's ambushed from behind and injected with an unknown substance. He saw a figure standing. As Centauri uncovers the syringe, the scene shifts to the bounty hunter dragging Jericho along the ground. Jericho questions his assailant, who responds in a different language before Jericho accuses him of being a bounty hunter. The bounty hunter, however, dismisses the term, finding it distasteful. Using binoculars, Centauri observes the situation and identifies the presence of a Sliek, a type of bounty hunter. He communicates with Clea, confirming his suspicions. The Sliek's presence indicates that Alpha Base likely sent him as backup. Despite the challenge posed by the bounty hunter and the loss of his weapons and prisoner, Centauri resolves to retrieve them. Jericho converses with the bounty hunter, expressing his disdain for the Sidonians and their oppressive ways. The bounty hunter considers the consequences of Jericho's death on his potential reward. Jericho proposes the idea of taking the bounty hunter to the ship first to discuss with the elders. However, the bounty hunter abruptly changes his mind, rejecting the idea and opting to eliminate Jericho for the sake of being hailed as a hero. Centauri engages in a fierce battle with the bounty hunter, ultimately prevailing and defeating him. However, Jericho seizes the opportunity to escape. Determined to capture him, Centauri pursues Jericho relentlessly until he finally manages to catch and subdue him. Centauri calls for extraction and settles in to wait with Jericho. They engage in conversation, with Jericho revealing his name and rank as Lieutenant Orn Jericho. Centauri warns Jericho not to provoke him, but Jericho remains defiant. Jericho explains the plan to destroy Centauri's planet using a ship filled with a deadly substance called film pegilo, launched from a distance to avoid detection. Centauri realizes that Jericho is a key to obtaining the ship's coordinates, but Jericho remains indifferent, claiming he doesn't care about the consequences. Despite Jericho's bravado, Centauri suspects there may be more to his motives than he lets on. Clea informs Centauri of an incoming transmission, which turns out to be from the battleship Aurora. Centauri takes the call, informing them that Commander Carzo is deceased and he's now the acting commander. The Aurora confirms they're heading to the last known signal point of the Prometheus and are awaiting the beacon's location. Clea activates the personal beacon, initiating the signal. Centauri acknowledges the information and signs off, ready to rendezvous with the Aurora in 15 minutes. Centauri warns Jericho of the consequences awaiting him upon their return to Sidonia, mentioning the likelihood of torture to extract information. Jericho questions the urgency of their return, pondering the purpose of their chase across the desert. Centauri argues that innocent lives are often caught in the crossfire, but Jericho blames the High Council for their plight. The conversation turns heated as they discuss the morality of their actions and the consequences of war. Jericho reveals his personal stake in the conflict, expressing a desire to see his family again. Centauri urges him to direct his vengeance towards those truly responsible, rather than innocents caught in the fray. Jericho stepped up and provided the coordinates for the bomb ship in the Vega sector, a Gamma Quadrant. Centauri urged Alpha Base to act quickly, emphasizing the urgency of the situation. Clea authorized Jericho to transmit the coordinates, and he relayed them, specifying that it's an M-class star frigate. However, Centauri revealed a knife, indicating that his orders were to terminate Jericho. However, Jericho disclosed that he had given false coordinates, leading to a decoy ship. Centauri realized they couldn't stop the impending disaster. The two started fighting, and Jericho managed to knock him out. Jericho revealed to Centauri that they never launched the bomb ship, and that he orchestrated the crash of Centauri's ship to gain access to the base's data. With Centauri as his captive, Jericho intended to extract the information he needed from the base. As he left Centauri tied up, Jericho emphasized the difference between them, mentioning his family on Earth before departing. Jericho, disguised as Centauri, approached the Aurora team as they landed on the ground. He communicated with them using Centauri's identity, reporting their arrival and asking for Centauri's status. When they approached him to help him walk, Jericho stabbed them with a knife, killing all of them. Centauri, having untied himself, watches as Jericho enters a hatch buried in the sand. Despite having a clear shot at him, Centauri declines to take it. Through a scope, Centauri observes as Jericho drops into the hatch and launches the bomb ship. Centauri retrieves a communications device from the extraction team, while Jericho monitors a conversation in which Centauri defiantly responds to his superiors. The Sidonians demand Centauri to take action against Jericho, but Centauri reveals that Jericho is already en route to their homeworld. The movie concludes as Jericho and Centauri reach an understanding, acknowledging that they will discuss why Centauri spared Jericho's life when they meet again. Centauri sets out to locate the bounty hunter's ship.